Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
People say work hard until you don't have to introduce yourself. Today, I would rather say work harder until you have someone else taking pride to introduce you. Our speaker for the day is the Head of Training and Development, BeehiveCommunicationClub, Virudhunagar. He has influenced and inspired lakhs of people through his dynamic sessions and galvanizing talks. He is an expert in public speaking and effective communication. His words have the power to spellbind an audience. He has conducted an education session on recycling for 70,303 students for 41 minutes, which went on to attain the Guinness World Record for the largest recycling lesson. He has trained the students and faculty members of more than 50 schools and colleges on communication skills and several corporate employees on soft skills. He has also trained the partially speech and hearing impaired students of Kalasalingam University on written communication skills. This adult Toastmaster has achieved the Advanced Communicator Gold and Advanced Leader Bronze Awards from Toastmasters International. He has been delivering umpteen guest lectures at educational institutions and the fraternity of Toastmasters across Tamil Nadu. He is the only member from District 82 of Toastmasters across Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka to have won all the 4 different forms of contests. They are humorous, evaluation, table topics, and international speech contests. Here we have the owner of such a prodigious profile, Mr. Shyamraj, to weave magic through his words on the topic effective communication skills. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, friends? Fine. Okay. I'm very happy for the fact that you're all doing fine. But then for some reasons, I'm not comfortable with that answer. Whenever I ask people, how are you? Fine is the first word that I receive. I'm happy about this answer, but why would I not feel so comfortable? It's because the word fine in English has got 2 meanings. Does it not? Fine means I'm doing good. The other meaning for the word fine is penalty. So maybe when someone asks you, how are you? And you together say, fine. That means I shouldn't ask that question here. I get this belief. So maybe let us say, I am fine. Shall we? How are you? That was lovely. That was lovely. But then due to some reason, I still believe that this answer is also not complete. See, I'm a stranger to you who has come from a far off place, and I had the kindness to inquire your wellness. So maybe the courtesy to say thank you would be appreciated. So can we make it, I'm fine, thank you? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
That was impressive, certainly impressive. But again, due to some reasons, I feel this answer is also not complete. See, as I stated, I'm a stranger to you who has come from a far off place, and I have taken the kindness to inquire your wellness. Maybe the courtesy to inquire my wellness back would still be great. So shall we have it, I'm fine, thank you, how about you? Shall we? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you so much. Don't you find this is very professional? Yes, friends. So let's always take this as the first answer given to anybody who asks you, how are you? Shall we? Because we know the first impression is No, the first impression is not the best impression. The first impression is the toughest impression for that matter. Have you felt that in various occasions? See, just imagine all those circumstances where you wanted to create the first impression. Take it on a very lighter note. Like you were walking in the corridor of your school. You had your favorite teacher coming in the opposite. You wanted to impress her for the day. And what did you do? You wanted to greet her. And you did this. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Do you remember doing this? Like this happens whenever you want to make this first impression. I remember the first time I went up to the stage to present a talk. I was 8 years old then. I went up to the stage. That was my first line on the stage. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. May I start again from the first? This is what I did. My coach, who was standing behind the screen, quickly said, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." I saw him and said, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." This is how you land up whenever you want to make this first impression. And then I tried a little more. I went up to the next stage where I was given the role of Brutus of Shakespeare. So my role was very simple: to stand as Brutus, pull out the dagger, kill Caesar, and present a talk to the Romans. I pulled out my dagger, killed a minister instead of Caesar, and I was talking about Caesar to Caesar. The fellow who was acting as Caesar got confused. Not knowing what to do, he took out his dagger, killed himself, and lay on the floor. So all such things happen when you're on the stage to mark the first impression. So the first impression is not the best impression, it's the toughest impression. Maybe when it turns out good, it's the best impression. Yeah? So today, my dear friends, we'll take some time to understand how effective communication skills shall be mastered. In my opinion, I would say there are 6 steps to master this skill. There are 6 steps that anybody has to go through to become a powerful speaker on stage. Shall we step through them? Okay. In your opinion, leave apart effective communication skills. May it be any skill for that matter. What do you think is step number 1? Yeah? Stage fear. I would like to conquer my stage fear. Yes, that's going to be in one of those steps that I mentioned. But is that going to be step number 1? No. Confidence. Yes, that's required. But will that be step number 1? No. All right. I'll give you a small citation. They say the earth that we live in came into existence 450 crore years ago. After so many forms of evolution, human beings came here. But then, when human beings evolved, they did not evolve exactly the way we look. There were 2 species. They say there were 2 kinds of human beings. One was called the Cro-Magnons. The other was called the Neanderthals. Cro-Magnons were brainy as we are. They did not look like the animals. But then the Neanderthals were not brainy. They were only muscular. Very similar to the apes from which we evolved. So one was brainy, the other was muscular. Who would win the contest? Brains or muscles? Brains win. And that's why it said it's survival of the fittest, not survival of the strongest. So they say after so many natural calamities, after so many obstacles, the Neanderthals evaded. The Neanderthals were washed off from the world, but the Cro-Magnons survived. We are direct descendants to this Cro-Magnons. Now here is the point. We know that these Cro-Magnons in time invented a lot of things. They invented the wheel, they invented weapons, they found agriculture, they found so many things. But one of the most fascinating findings of the Cro-Magnons is fire. Am I right? Is fire. But then we need to understand this very keenly. Do we know the difference between discovery and invention? Yes, we all know. What's a discovery? Great. It's there. It's present. I only have to find the root and discover it. What's an invention? It's not there. I assemble certain things and I create it. Now here comes my question. To those Cro-Magnons, for the first time, was fire a discovery or invention? Invention? Okay, do you feel he did this and brought fire? No. He saw fire first. Somewhere in the forest, out of friction, he saw fire. That was discovered. And then one day he decided to invent it. Yeah? Now the archaeologists across the world made a study. They just spotted 2 days. They found when man would have first discovered fire. And they also estimated when man would have invented that fire by himself. And then they calculated the duration between these 2 incidents. The incident of discovery, the incident of invention. Can somebody guess How many days it would have taken for man, the Cro-Magnon, to invent that fire that he discovered? How many days would it have taken? 15 days? A few months? Okay, the report of the team was very shocking. They said it took 20,000 years. 20,000 years for man to invent the fire that he discovered. But then we all know that it did not take him that long to invent the wheel. It did not take him that long to find the right ways of agriculture. Why did it take that long to invent fire? Any reasons that pop up in your mind? There were many answers across the world to this predicament. And finally, the same department gave us the answer. They said, okay, this is the reason why man took such a long time to invent fire. They said, for 20,000 years, man was not looking for the technology. Man was not short of wisdom to create this fire. For 20,000 years, man thought he did not want that fire. He did not want that fire. As simple as that. He thought fire could kill him. He thought fire could burn him down. So he thought, no, I don't want that fire. But later at a point, when he realized fire can help him cook his food, when he believed that fire can help him see in darkness, he created that fire in a few days, they say. Now, friends, what do you think is the major element required for an invention? Interest, lovely. Necessity, and that's how the proverb goes. Necessity is the mother of invention. So maybe we'll put it in the term that she said, interest. Step one is an undying interest over what you want to develop. When you're interested, you will find your own way to develop that skill, won't you? An undying interest over something. If you want to perfect effective communication skills, do you have that undying interest? Check it over yourself. If you have an interest, no matter where you fail or how many times you fail, the interest will keep you on track and you will master the skill. That was great. Now, if step number one is interest, what do you think is step number two? All right, I have got the interest. What do I do now? Practice it. Okay, I'll take practice as an answer, but is that step number two? No. You've got something before practice. What comes before practice? I only have an interest over that skill. What do I do next? Learn, search. Lovely. Learn, search. I would appreciate both those answers. Whenever I talk to students, they say, sir, I would like to learn the lessons. I would like to learn and get the knowledge. I only like to perfect those statements. Let it be acquiring of knowledge. When I say acquiring of knowledge, it is not gotten from the books. It is not given by a teacher. It's in the way you search. It's in the way you search. See, most of the lessons are everywhere around us. Now, if I were to ask you the alphabet in English, can you give me the letters of the alphabet in English? What are they? What are the letters in the English alphabet? A, B, C, D. You go on till Z. No matter whom I ask this question, they would give me this answer. And I have never heard anybody saying LMNOP, DCBA, GHIJ. Nobody changes the order. They all say A, B, C, D, E, F till Z. Why is that so? Should I not change this order? Is it wrong if I start from Z and close till A? It's not wrong. Okay, then why do they have it in this order? Okay, it was given by our seniors, so we are practicing that. Okay, do you think there should have been a reason for this? For the letters to be in this order? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Maybe the people who taught us the letters of the alphabet did not teach this. If you go and understand the reason, that is acquiring of knowledge. If you know the letters of the alphabet, that's knowledge. That's the knowledge you've gotten. This is acquiring, right? I got it from a professor of mine who said, Shyam, do you remember these symbols that you learned in physics? Alpha, beta. We remember words like gamma, delta, eta, omega, pi. Yeah, we have learned them in physics. He said these are numbers in Greek. These are numbers in Greek. 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe if alpha is 1, what's the first letter of this number? A. Well, if beta is number 2, what's the first letter there? B. They say it's theta. What's the first letter? They say it's delta. What's the first letter? They say it's eta. What's the first letter? And it goes on till omega and pi. Say O and P. So the first letters of all these numbers have been taken in an order, and that has become A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's the reason for this order. Now, what did I quote as number 1 and number 2 in Greek? Alpha, beta. Can you say that loud?
Alpha, beta.
Can you say that again?
Alpha, beta.
Can you say them together?
Alpha, beta.
What's that? Alpha, beta. Alphabet. You get that name? So the very name alphabet was given to alphabet from the first 2 numbers of Greek. Do you understand? And that's why people don't say English has got 26 alphabets. They say English has got 26 letters in the alphabet, because alphabet only refers to the first 2. Have you got it? So what I quoted now is nothing but the acquiring of knowledge. If you think you want to master this skill of singing, you want to master this skill of swimming, don't just take the lessons that are given. If you want to be a professional, if you want to be an expert, let step number 2 be acquiring, searching for the knowledge that you want in that field. Is that clear? So now I've completed 2 steps here. What would be my step number 3? I got this answer earlier. Now my friend said implementing. There is something before implementing. I'll buy her answer. She said practice. This answer was earlier quoted. Practice. Practice what I have taken from my acquiring of knowledge. And how do I practice? See, practice is a very common word in this world. And until you understand the true meaning of this word, you will not actually practice. You would only be thinking that you're practicing. What is the definition of practice? I develop my skills when I practice. So how would you develop your skills, or how should you practice to develop your skills? I'll give you a small anecdote. It's not an anecdote, it's just a comparison that you would need to make. Which is the fastest animal on land? Cheetah. Does anyone know the speed of this cheetah? Very close. It is 105 kilometers per hour. I repeat, it's 105 kilometers per hour. That's the speed of a cheetah. Which is the second fastest animal on land? Another cheetah, sir. Which is the second fastest animal on land? It's not a horse. No. It's not a rabbit. Zebra. Okay. It's very nice. It's an antelope, a kind of a deer. It's an antelope. This guy is the second fastest animal on land. Any idea on his speed? It should be a little lesser than the fastest guy. That's how we think. Like if Usain Bolt can complete the race at 9.8, the next guy should complete it at least at 10. Okay, that's the law. But then it doesn't operate with nature. Say the fastest animal runs at 105 kilometers per hour, as I said. But then this antelope, which is the second fastest animal on land, runs at 70 kilometers per hour. His speed is 70 kilometers per hour. Now this is the statistics in front of you. If this fact is true, tell me if my logic is right. Whenever a cheetah chases an antelope, the cheetah should get the antelope. Am I right? Whenever the cheetah chases the antelope, the cheetah should get the antelope, no matter how far they were in the beginning of the chase. But does it happen so? No. The cheetah doesn't get the antelope every time. The National Geographic Channel says in every 5 attempts, the cheetah wins only once. The antelope wins 4 times. How is that possible? Okay, there is an answer. He says the fear of life makes the antelope pedal a little faster. That's true. That was studied. The antelope can speed itself up to say 75 kilometers per hour just because he's running for his life. Maybe the cheetah is just running for his food. Maybe he can bring his speed down to 100 kilometers per hour, but then still you have a good, huge difference of speed. So that's not the right answer, they say. But that's a good answer. What else would be the reason? Oh, very nice. He has brought us very close to the answer. I just elucidate the answer that he has given. Put a cheetah and an antelope on a racetrack. The race is for 100 meters. Who would win? Cheetah, no doubts. Now let it not be a 100-meter race. Let it be a 200-meter race. Who would win? Cheetah. Again, no doubts. Let it not be a 100-meter race. Let it not be a 200-meter race. Let it be a 1,500-meter race. Let it be a long-distance race. Who would win? The cheetah does not win. The cheetah does not even complete the race. The antelope would come first. Now, what's the trait? What's the technique? What is that element that makes the antelope win here? Stamina. Or maybe something that we call endurance. Endurance, my dear friends, is the capability of doing something you do for a long time. The antelope is capable of running at the 70 kilometers per hour for kilometers together. He can keep doing what he is doing for a long time. But the cheetah at its speed of 105 kilometers per hour gets exhausted in 300 yards. He can't pull himself even for one more step further. His body doesn't allow him. So every time that a cheetah chases an antelope, the chase is only for 300 yards. It's not for anything more. And it is within this 300 yards that the antelope jumps, pushes, rolls, and does everything that it wants to do. If it wins the 300 yards, it wins its life. Is that understood? So if you were to practice something, maybe your communication skills, would you practice your skills like the cheetah or like the antelope? Like the antelope. I'm going to practice with endurance. I'm not going to set my goals for 5 days. I don't say I would practice my speaking for 5 days. I would practice my speaking for 5 months and then expect the result. No, you're acting like the cheetah. Your winning ratio is just 20%. Don't set a deadline. I believe you all know Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah? He is a renowned bodybuilder. He was. And then he became an actor. And till date, he is a famous personality across the world. Does anybody have an idea of what title he won for his bodybuilding? There was a title that he won, which made him so famous across the world. Very close. It's called Mr. Olympia. The title is Mr. Olympia. Arnold had won this title not just once, not just twice. He won it 6 times consecutively. 6 times consecutively. And the 7th time he didn't participate. He said, no, I'm not taking it anymore. So there was a reporter who went to Arnold and said, sir, you have been very powerful. You have been very successful. We would like to know something. How many times do you exercise every day? I mean, how many times do you have your sit-ups every day? How many times do you go for your push-ups? How many times do you go for your pull-ups? Tell us. It would be a lesson for everyone. Arnold looked at him and said, that's a stupid question, he said. What's wrong in my question, sir? You asked me how many times I practice. That's stupid. Why, what's wrong in it, sir? I never count the number of times I practice. I practice until it pains, he says. Look at the beauty in the answer. He says, I don't count the number of times I practice until it pains. Look at the big lesson that's hidden within that statement. Maybe you go to the gym. Day 1, you practice for 5 times. Maybe you do your push-ups for 5 times. Your body pains, you stop. Would your body pain after you complete your push-ups for 5 times the second day as well? No, you wouldn't feel the pain by 5 times. Maybe you will feel the pain after you do those push-ups for 10 times. And the 3rd day, you will feel the pain only after 15 drills. So every day, the number of times you practice increases if you measure it by pain. If you measure it by pain. That way, you are inching close to success. You're inching very close to your objective. So practice until it pains. Practice on an enduring scale. Don't fix a deadline to meet your goals. Even if you think you've achieved what you wanted to, don't stop your practice over the skill. It's going to retain you on that space. So practicing with endurance is practicing the right way. Is it understood? Yes. So I've given you 3 steps, friends. What are they? Step number 1 would be an undying interest that you possess over that skill. Step 2, acquiring the knowledge that is required for that skill. What would be step 3? Practicing on an enduring scale, right? And what do you think would be step number 4? After I have developed my interest, after I've acquired the knowledge I wanted, after I've practiced it enough, what comes next? Success? Very close, very close. Implementation, application of my knowledge. See, most of the times we miss it here, my dear friends. People practice so well. They have got a lot of knowledge about that skill, but just because they fail here, they don't hit the skill properly. Now, we all go for tours. Maybe a college tour. Maybe you would have gone for a school tour. We have all the fun around, and finally we all get seated. We settle down. We want to take some rest. And at that time, someone in the crowd says, "Come on, somebody sing a song," they say. And the moment they say, "Somebody sing a song," the whole class would look at one person, right? Because we know he or she is the singer of the class. And what does this girl or boy do? Does he or she quickly say, "Okay, I'll sing"? Does he say that? No, they don't do that. The moment they say, "Come on, you sing," they say, "Hey, no, it's okay. It's okay." They do that. Why do they do so? No, you know, why did you pick that guy? Because you know that guy has got step 1 in that skill. What's that? Interest. You know that guy has got step 2 in that. What's that? He's acquired a lot of knowledge in singing. He has got a lot of step 3 in that. She has practiced that skill enduringly. But then look at that for step 4, the person doesn't come forward. And we associate that with so many reasons. Hesitation. And there comes the point that you said, stage fear. Okay, I'm good at it, but don't call me there. We all have that problem, don't we? Yeah. Now, I spent a lot of my time in my career looking for the answer to this question. Now, whenever I went up to the stage, I was able to feel the nerves. I was able to feel the fear. And to everybody that I talked to, this came as an answer. Everyone said, "Yes, I also have a stage fear. I have some problem with going up to the stage." So I was just wondering, if everyone on the world has got this fear, who is it that has conquered it? I always wondered, those successful speakers on the stage, how does this guy speak on the stage? I wanted to know what he did with that fear. Did you also want that answer for a long time? I have found it, friends. I have found the answer to that question. Now I know what to do with that stage fear. Would you want to know that? Yeah. I mean, the yes is very strong. Maybe it's going to be $1 billion secret, right? If I tell you what to do with that stage fear, like from then, it's a big problem that's solved. Okay, the answer goes like this. I didn't get this answer in a seminar. I did not get it elsewhere. I found this answer from a book. This book was written by someone named Swami Vivekananda. I hope you know who he is. He's one of the most famous philosophers, a religious speaker in India. This guy has given the answer to stage fear, or to manage stage fear. Now, what do you remember of Swami Vivekananda? Like when I say Swami Vivekananda, what comes to your mind? The speech that he presented in a conference at the United States of America. Maybe he went to Chicago and he presented a talk. What else do you remember? Maybe they say he went up to the stage and presented a line. That was the first line of his speech. What was that? Very nice. Brothers and sisters of America, he started. And the moment he said this, there was a huge ovation offered to him. Because usually speakers receive an ovation by the end of the speech. This man received it at the beginning of the speech just for addressing them, brothers and sisters of America. And that made him so famous, they say. This is history. So I picked this book of Swami Vivekananda. It was his autobiography. When I got this book, I did not want to look into any other chapter. I quickly flipped to the chapter which read my experience at the conference at Chicago. I just flipped to this page immediately because I wanted to know how this man managed on that stage. I went through the whole chapter. I was shocked. You will not believe me if I tell you what I read in that chapter. That chapter has the trade secret. That chapter has the secret of how to manage fear on stage. But then to get that answer from Swami Vivekananda, I was really shocked. Here it goes, friends. Swami Vivekananda says, everybody calls me a very good speaker. They say I can speak fearlessly, which is not true. He says, I'll tell you what happened there. His book goes, that was not a one-day conference. That was a multi-day conference. Like the conference went on for so many days. And I was not the only speaker for that day. There were many other speakers also aligned for that day. But then I had lot number 1. So on that day, I was supposed to speak as the first speaker. I was seated somewhere on a chair. And there were many other speakers seated after me. The official compeer for that day went up to the lectern and said, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have got many speakers from different parts of the world who are going to lighten up this hall with knowledge and wisdom. Now we have lot number 1, she says. But then she wanted to check if Swami Vivekananda was ready. So she goes up to Swami Vivekananda and asks him, sir, are you ready to speak? Now you know what we do when we are to step up to the stage? We have the script and we prepare it with shivering hands. Vivekananda says he was doing that. And the moment the lady asked, he said, ma'am, 5 minutes please, take this fellow. He says, there was another guy sitting behind him. And the lady said generously, okay, so no problem, please prepare, I'll take him. And this guy was taken to the stage. Can you imagine a person whom you call to be the most powerful speaker in Indian history said, ma'am, I need 5 more minutes, take this fellow. He had said this. So the next guy goes up to the stage, he completes his speech. And after that, the lady once again comes to Swami Vivekananda. Sir, are you ready now? Can you come now? Ma'am, last 2 minutes, take that fellow. He had said this. So the next person was taken to the stage. The next person was taken to the stage. This trail continued and Swami Vivekananda never went to the lectern. He says this. The lunch time came. People went out for lunch and again gathered back in the hall. Still, he was not ready. He skipped his opportunity. It went on until it was the last lot to speak for that day. Trust me, I'm not doing any motivation session here. It's simply what he has given in that book. He did not go up to the stage till it was the last lot. And finally, this official compeer who was bringing all the other speakers on the stage, she got dejected, she got tired. She just walked with her face down to check if he was ready at least now. And then this man in charge, there was an official chair for the whole conference. This man stopped her. Where are you going? I'm going to check if that man is ready. Don't check. You go and announce he'll come, he says. So this lady goes up to the lectern and says, all right, friends, here we have the final speaker for the day. He's one of the most proficient speakers from one of the most ancient countries in this world. And Vivekananda was thinking, okay, some great gentleman is going to come and speak there. And he did not know that was an introduction to him. And all in a sudden, this lady says, yes, here we have Narayan on stage. You know, Narayan was the original name of Swami Vivekananda. And the moment his name was announced, you know what happens? What happens? Sir, he got a heart attack now. You know that? Now that's what happens when somebody suddenly calls out you on the stage. So the moment the name Narayan was given, you know, there was a script that he was preparing all the day. He dropped that script on the floor when the name was announced. Like he was filled with nerves and fear, and just because his name was announced, he started walking to the lectern. The script was there. He just walked to the lectern. He stood up. He stood in front of the thousands who were assembled at the conference. After standing, after coming up here, he understood that the script was there. They were allowed to look at the notes. That was permitted. But then his notes was also not there. It was there. So he was standing there, not knowing what to do. You know what happens after so many rounds of preparation and rehearsal? You forget the first line on the stage, right? So this man forgot the first line on the stage. He couldn't recollect what he had prepared for. So he was just standing there. He knew so many people had sponsored him for that trip, so he couldn't go back. And he couldn't ask them, can I go and pick that script? He knew it would be a point of embarrassment. So he just stood there and decided, okay, come what may. Let me do something. Let me start with something, he decides. Okay, how do I start? He thinks of how he usually starts his speeches in India. In India, it's a practice we call each other brothers and sisters. In fact, the pledge of India goes, all Indians are my brothers and sisters. He simply said that, nothing big. He said, okay, sisters and brothers of America. What do I speak next? He was thinking about it. But then the moment he said sisters and brothers of America, everyone in the audience stood up and offered an ovation. Why were they clapping hands for him? Because everybody else started, ladies and gentlemen. They said, my dear friends. They had all professional ways. But the moment he said, sisters and brothers, people felt, oh my God, what a creative start to the speech. He has given the glimpse of his culture. He has told us everything about his religious beliefs and the entirety of their beliefs. By the first statement of the speech, people were applauding for that reason. Vivekananda was standing there. Why are they clapping hands for me? This was running in his mind. Why are they clapping hands for me? He didn't know that. And in that book he has written, for the first, the ovation lasted for 1 full minute. And he says, I didn't know why they were clapping hands for me. For 30 seconds, I couldn't understand why the appreciation was offered. For 45 seconds, I couldn't understand why they were clapping hands. After 45 seconds, I still didn't understand why they were clapping hands, but I understood something else, he says. I understood something else. For some reason, the audience have accepted me. They appreciated because they had accepted me for something. It's okay, I don't know what it is, but they have accepted me for something. The moment my mind believed that the people have accepted me, every line in my script came one after the other in front of my eyes. I was able to deliver that speech impeccably. And that, my dear friends, happened to be one of the most powerful speeches presented by an Indian on an international stage. A man who started believing that his audience had accepted him. A man who believed that fear can be conquered when you know that the audience have taken you. And he, in that chapter, says, you cannot drive away your fear. You will always have that fear. Take that fear. Carry that fear. Go to the lectern. Stand there. Wait for that moment when people would accept you. Once they have accepted you, your track is clear. Maybe when I came up in front of you, I felt that fear. Maybe I was hiding it so well inside. I had all that fear that anybody would have until you said, I'm fine. Maybe that was the answer to my question. The moment you started corresponding to me, the moment you started answering to me, I felt, okay, this audience has accepted me. Is that clear? So step number 4, my dear friends, is implementation. And that comes when you start believing that the fear, that the hesitation can be driven off when you start believing that the audience would accept you at some point. Clear? What would be step number 5? I've completed 4 steps. What would be my step number 5 then? If I have practiced so well, if I have implemented so well, I should have success, shouldn't I? But they say that doesn't fall in step number 5. It's going to be a surprise to many when I reveal what step number 5 is. It's something that people don't expect very often. People simply believe when I've acquired all the knowledge, when I've practiced it enduringly, when I've applied it enough, I get success. But what comes next is a beautifully crafted failure. Failure. Most of the people don't take this. They stop here, they halt here, they give up here. When they face a failure, they feel, I have put in a lot of hard work to acquire the skill and I don't deserve this failure. But it's a fact that anybody who marches through perfecting a skill would find this step. How many of us know Sachin Tendulkar? Okay, everyone. There is nobody who doesn't know him. How many of us know Vinod Kambli? Okay, one man in the audience knows him. Two know him. Okay, I know that many wouldn't know who Vinod Kambli is. We know Sachin Tendulkar because he played the game of cricket in the 1990s, also in the 2000s. Vinod Kambli was a cricketer who played the game of cricket in the 1990s alone. Vinod Kambli is a friend of Sachin Tendulkar. He's a schoolmate of Sachin Tendulkar. We all know Sachin, but we don't know Vinod Kambli. Vinod Kambli got qualified into international cricket the same year Sachin Tendulkar got qualified. They both entered international cricket. You know how they would have entered? They both had step number 1 in cricket. What's that? Interest. They had step number 2 with cricket. They had a lot of knowledge acquired. They both had step 3. They had been practicing it on an enduring scale. And 4, they were ready to apply their knowledge. They were ready to test their skills in the international ground. And I'll tell you what happened when they decided to do that. Sachin was 16 years old. He was taken to Karachi, Pakistan. He was in the field. He was the batsman. That was the first international match he was going to play. All these days, he had been practiced by Indian bowlers and Indian fielders. That was the first time he was facing international players. He stands there. There was a bowler named Walker Yunus of Pakistan, a pace bowler. This man started from the other end. He had the ball in his hand. He was so tall. Sachin believed, okay, no problem. I've seen Kapil Dev practicing me in the nets. I'll go with this. He stood there. But then this Walker Yunus took 20 steps behind the stump. Sachin only thought to myself, Kapil Dev does not walk 20 steps behind the stump. What's he doing there? If I thought, okay, no problem. Let me stand here. Walker Yunus goes 20 steps behind. He comes running so fast. And he jumps near the stump to bowl. See, Walker Yunus was at least 6 feet. So when he jumped, he became 7 feet. And he bowled the ball. The ball pitched at the center. And what happens when a fast bowler pitches the ball at the center? The ball bounces. Sachin had never faced such a bouncer at such a pace. He quickly tries to block the ball. The ball hits the edge of the bat. It hits the helmet. It breaks the strings. And there is a sound. Tick. Nobody understood what that sound was. But then there was a sound, tick. There was this sound heard everywhere in the mics, like the stems have the mic. The sound was heard. After a couple of seconds, Sachin removed his helmet off. He was bleeding in the center of the ground. His nose had broken. The stick was the ball hitting his nose. He bleeds in the center of the field. What do you call that as? Failure. For a man who had interest, for a man who had knowledge, for a man who had practiced, for a man who has come for implementation, that's failure. He was not bowled out. His nose was broken. What would you call that as? This was the failure, maybe the first failure faced by Sachin. Now keep this example aside. Who was the other guy we were talking about? Vinod Kambli. Now he was a left-handed batsman, okay. Now Sachin's case was better. He was sent to Pakistan. You know where this guy was sent? He was sent to West Indies, right? He was standing there in the middle of the pitch. There was this bowler named Curtly Ambrose. How many of you remember him? There was this bowler named Curtly Ambrose. I said Walker Yunus is 6 feet, and when he jumps, he is 7 feet. Curtly Ambrose naturally is 7 feet. So he was standing there behind the stumps. He comes running with the ball, and he jumps near the stumps. So the 7 feet becomes 8 feet, and he was standing there. And he pitches the ball at the center. What happens when a fast bowler pitches the ball at the center? Pitches and bounces. In the case of Sachin, the bouncer came to his face. In Vinod Kambli's case, the ball pitched and it just went here. He was just looking at it. And he looked at the umpire. Is it not a wide or something? Actually, in test matches, they don't give you many extras. So he said that's a good ball. So he was just looking at this. And he was just looking like that for the whole match. Like all the bowlers who bowled for Vinod Kambli just gave him bounces. He tried everything and he couldn't touch the ball. So by the end of that tournament, Vinod Kambli also understood that he faced his failure. But what happened after that created history. Vinod Kambli wrote a letter to BCCI after that tournament with West Indies and said, I'm resigning. I don't want to play test cricket anymore because I believe the red ball bounces more and I can't face it. He signed off. Just because he quit from test cricket, his form in the ODIs also collapsed. And after a few days, he was chucked out of the team. Look at the reaction he has given to failure. Look at his response to failure. You don't remember who Vinod Kambli is today. Now come back, we have got another guy bleeding in the center of the pitch. Sachin. He is bleeding with failure. He is there. The runner comes close to Sachin and says, okay kiddo, go to the pavilion, you can come later. Go retired, hurt now. You can come later. The umpire says, it's getting time, my dear. You may go there, take some medication, come later. Sachin later in an interview says, the runner came and talked to me. The umpire came and talked to me. But I couldn't hear them, he says. There is one thing that I could feel with my senses. It was not the runner, it was not the umpire. It was the bowler. I could only see Walker Yunus. He was telling his skipper. He was saying something to his skipper and laughing. And I couldn't take it. I couldn't bear it. And I simply said, it's okay, I'll manage. I'll stay in the field for some more time. He had wiped off the blood with bare hands. He had taken the same helmet on with the broken strings and started with his game again. And the stats say he had 3 boundaries in the same over of Walker Yunus. This is how he handled that failure. Tell me one thing, friends. Do you feel this man would have ever felt fear anymore? In the movie Sachin, A Billion Dreams, he says, after that incident, I became fearless. What an easy way to conquer fear. Live through it. Go through it. Face it. And just say, what more have you got for me? But friends, most of the people, when they face failure, don't just do that. Now, what do you think Sachin did to failure? Do you think he fought back ferociously? No, he did not do that. Do you think he came back with more power? No, he did not do that. He just did one simple thing when he was struck with failure. He simply stayed. Stay in the game. Don't give up. Vinod Kambli gave up. He went out of the game. That was the only difference between Sachin and Vinod Kambli. So whenever failure knocks you in your mastering your communication skills, my dear friends, don't move away. Stay. You may go up to the stage, forget the first line of your speech. That's failure. You may finish your speech and feel, okay, that's not the speech I intended to present. You may feel you did not receive enough appreciations. You may receive a lot of criticism. And those will all be termed failures in your way. Just stay in the game. Don't quit. Because only for those who stay, step 6 is gifted. And what is that? Success. When you battle through all these 5 steps, the 6th step does not ask you for a battle. It simply comes and embraces you. And you can get this success story from anybody who is at the pinnacle of their skills or maybe areas of expertise. They will tell you so many stories of failure. They will tell you so many stories of their practicing enduringly. They will tell you so many places where they applied their skills. And there is no man on earth who will tell you his success story leaving off any of these steps. It would all have started with interest and it would all have ended with failure. And within that, they would have got a lot of knowledge, a lot of practice, and a lot of platforms to experiment and apply. Is that received? Yes, friends? So if you would like to master your communication skills, if you would like to be a proficient speaker, my humble request is to try your luck with all these steps. And one day, when you stand very successful as a professional speaker, as an effective communicator, share your success story, which underlines all these steps to the people around. Right? I should say, you have been a wonderful audience to me. I've been speaking to different kinds of people, but then the attention that you offered me, the keenness that you gifted me with, that was amazing. Like all this time I've been seeing these pair of eyes looking only at me, these pair of ears only listening to me, that one kind heart which was attending only me. I feel very thankful for your attention, and I simply believe that my elucidation would be of some use to you. Wishing to look at you as successful communicators in the future. Until then, my thoughts and prayers over you. Thank you so much. Great day. Glad.